Yeah, of course. But I mean, that didn't matter because, my father seemed to get all of his enjoyment out of playing in different bands on the weekend and in the evening and stuff like that. And so I always saw it as something that I wanted to do, but for recreation,
Oh.
you know? And I actually went to college for mathematics originally and
Oh,
switched to
how,
music midway there.
how funny.
Yeah, starting as a junior at UCLA, I was an ethnomusicology major, but before that, pure mathematics.
Wow, that is so
Yeah.
interesting to me.
I mean, there's definitely a bit of, you have to understand how things work and then apply it.
Yeah.
And composing and arranging is definitely solving a bunch of like miniature puzzles constantly. So it is very similar to math, but at the same time, I feel like in order to compose music or perform, you kind of have to be brilliant. Most of the musicians that we interact with as, freelancers around town are really, really smart people that have just chosen to apply themselves to music.
Yeah, yeah, because there's and that's an interesting point because then it begs the question why you chose music over math at some point in your career. What was it that spoke to you more about music?
So, I mean, for me, like even as a sophomore at UCLA, taking sort of high level math, math analysis and stuff like that, there
Mhm.
was still this like I'm going to learn all this really complicated math stuff because at some point I'll understand why it's useful to studying science or something. I'll make a connection at some point where I can start applying it. And contrast that to my, jazz theory class where they show me, well, you can, reharm this melody by putting random bass notes and then justifying them with whatever chord fits and get this really wild sounding harmony. And then literally that afternoon after the lecture, I can go to a practice room and start reharming songs immediately,
Right,
right?
right.
And just sort of the immediate gratification of that was really, really spoke to me, I think.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's actually
And
a great point.
yeah, and there was also a bit of I just, my father, going back to that, is a really, really good musician. Where like I think if he had decided to become a musician, he would have done just fine.
Hmm.
And so I definitely had this idea that like if my dad's not good enough to be a professional, neither would I, right? And I showed up to this thing, and I was the only one of the 20 students there that was not a music major. Even at UCLA, when I was in my music classes, I was surrounded by my people, right?
Yeah,
And I had a lot of friends in the math department, but a lot of them seemed a lot more interested and dedicated to what they were learning than I was.
yeah.
And I had that kind of drive over on the music side.